Friday's hot topic, one day before the MLS Cup final. The big question of the day, are the LA Galaxy going to win their 6th MLS Cup tomorrow? And to dig into the Galaxy, we're joined by our second MLS original podcaster of the week, host of Corner of the Galaxy Pod. Morning Kick Round is more than happy to welcome in Mr. Josh Guesman. Welcome and good morning. Very early out there for you, I imagine.
Yeah, Josh, you're up early for us. Thank you.
You know, I had to stretch. I had to warm up this morning. Usually, I do this at the end of the night, and we did it last night, and then got up early. But I'm glad to be joining you guys on the eve of MLS Cup once again. So exciting times here around LA.
I see the Christmas tree is already up there in the Corner of the Galaxy studios. You have any Galaxy ornaments? What's that situation, Josh?
Literally just took it out of the bag like before the show last night. So no ornaments yet. This one is my daughter's tree whenever she comes to visit. So she'll get to decorate that whenever she comes in. But for now, it's the COG tree.
Okay, perfect. Look, we were just talking about remembering that last time that the Galaxy were in the final at home. So another opportunity to host an MLS Cup final for the Galaxy. I think we all knew that this was going to be a better season for LA than last year. The additions, and particularly Peck and Pansel, really were the guys, Josh. But did this season exceed your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I think even in wildest dreams, you could say, oh, maybe they're a top 5 team. Maybe they can do something. If you remember, most of the MLS pundits had the LA Galaxy finishing much further down than I think a lot of people, but some of those were also before you really knew who Gabriel Peck was, before you really knew what Joseph Paintsel was going to be, and before Ricky Puig sort of was able to be reined in and sort of focused in the way that he was. But this is a different team, Jason, even from the end of the season. I mean, just looking at the MLS Cup playoffs, this team has shifted and changed and performed in ways that I don't think we could have predicted before all this, whether that's a favorable draw, whether it was competition or anything else. This version of the Galaxy, even in just the playoffs, has been much, much better than I think we expected it to be.
In your heart of hearts, Josh, what is your thought going in to the game tomorrow? I mean, are you going in as a firm believer that this will be the 6th championship, or are you a little bit nervy?
No, I think that one of my co-hosts texted me and said, if Ricky Puig doesn't get hurt, I feel really, really, really good about this. Now it's about the adjustments and what happens. And can Red Bull figure out how to adjust to a LA Galaxy non-Ricky Puig better than the LA Galaxy can figure out how to adjust without Ricky Puig in that one moment, right? They're not going to have a lot of time. They haven't played without Ricky for a very long time. So I think it makes it nervous. That being said, the LA Galaxy haven't lost all season at Dignity Health Sports Park. That in and of itself seems to be sort of belief within this team. And then this team is ridiculously optimistic. In ways they probably shouldn't deserve to be, but they feel like this is their chance and this is their time. I'm sure New York feels the same way, but there really is a belief here for the LA Galaxy that this is their time to grasp something.
Josh, obviously the Ricky Puig absence is massive, and nobody's going to replace Ricky in terms of the utility, the pure volume of touches and passes that he makes in a game. So this would lead to, okay, well, somebody, they have to share the wealth. They have to share that responsibility. A little bit of talk about Marco Reus and his fitness. It seems as though he's saying he's fine. Imagine he's going to be massively important. How do you think this works without Ricky, though?
Yeah, I mean, in the Galaxy did play 5 games without Ricky Puig this season. Not saying that you can just mirror that and say it's exactly the same whenever you go there, but 3-1-1 whenever they did that. Diego Fagundes started in the center there for 4 of those games, and they didn't lose with Diego Fagundes there. I mean, on most teams, I think Diego Fagundes is still a starter on a lot of teams in the center, and this is a guy who has a ton of experience. He mentioned that the last time he was in an MLS Cup, he was sitting on the bench for New England in 2014 when the LA Galaxy beat New England Revolution in extra time there. So he feels like I missed out on the last one and I want to be part of this one. So I think that's going to be the storyline here for me anyway. If you're asking me who I put in there, it's Diego Fagundes. Marco Reus is going to be an option, I think. I think he's going to be an option off the bench. Okay. And if they need him, then they will put him in those situations. But this is a Red Bull team that is so ridiculously aggressive that the best answer for that would be Ricky Puig, but you don't have Ricky Puig. And so now you're going to have to adjust around that. So for me, it's Diego Fagundes in the center.
I caught some of your preview show from last night. Epic open with like 10, 11 minute monologue, documenting in the last 10 years since the last title. Obviously some low moments, especially in the last like year or two. When did you become a believer in this team?
Shortly before the playoffs started this year. No, listen, it's funny because we talk about this all the time. Galaxy fans have had PTSD for the last, since 2017. And every time that you'd think, oh, maybe there's time to turn the corner, there would just be something that would happen. And even last year is a great example of that, because the LA Galaxy were not a horrible team last year. They finished 13th in the Western Conference because they couldn't get people back on the field. And then you combine that with a supporters boycott. You combine that with all the front office restrictions, the cheating scandal that cost them transfer restrictions, the $1 million fine they had to do, having to do a lot of their work in the middle or the front end of the season, and then having to only do in-league transfers for that summertime. If you look at those things, there were a lot of things against that team, and I still believe that wasn't a bad team last year. Injuries and everything else stacked up against it. So there was sort of this progression Greg Vanney was moving towards, and I think some of us wanted to believe that he was making steps. He was taking progression. They were getting better. It was just hard to believe for after seeing it since 2017. So there was a lot of doubt, even whenever you were watching the team play well. Sometimes we kept going over the historical data and being, wait a minute, this team is again one of the best LA Galaxy teams in terms of wins, in terms of goals scored, and all those things. And we kept having to try to adjust what we were seeing to sort of look at that data.
From a faraway observer, the Zlatan years, like you got an incredible output from him, but obviously the overall league results didn't come. Was that that must have been pretty disheartening on that side, eh?
It was extremely exciting to watch Zlatan Ibrahimovic. It's extremely exciting to be able to cover somebody like Zlatan Ibrahimovic, a character in all senses. So there was hope there that something could be built around. But yeah, I mean, extremely disappointing. You look at the Zlatan era, really there for the LA Galaxy, resulted in one playoff win. And when you're the LA Galaxy, as we've often said, it's not about playoff wins, it's about MLS Cups. So just getting one playoff win doesn't get you there.
Josh, a lot of attention on Ricky Puig, a lot of attention on the attack, Pancil, Peck, Joveljic. Defensively, I mean, obviously this is a part of this. You can't win soccer games if you can't prevent goals, even if you're good at scoring them. Give me a sense of how this has developed and the additions, and particularly this year, that have made a difference in the back.
Yeah, Miki Amane on that right hand side has been really, really fun to watch. Such a strong character, and Greg Vanney's used him a lot in an inverted role. So he'll sort of allow him come up the field and then tuck inside in order to help the midfield on defensive things. He can also combine on the outside whenever that's being shut down. So he's been great. Pairing next to countryman Maya Yoshida, who is such a class act and a joy to cover at all times. But it's been Amiro Garces, and really his addition later on in this season. They didn't get him started right away, and everybody sort of kept asking where he was going to be, and they're like, we're progressing, we're getting him along, we're going to move him along. And then all of a sudden he comes on probably the last month and a half before the playoffs start, and now you're looking at a team that was giving up almost 2 goals per game, and with Amiro Garces on the field, they're now down to about just a little over 1 goal. So he's been able to subtract that, and in the playoffs, the defense hasn't been a worry. Not saying it's not going to be against Red Bulls on MLS Cup, but they've been solid defensively for most of these playoffs.
Out in LA in this build up here to the MLS Cup final, and just the impressive march to the final, how does LA Galaxy permeate into like mainstream culture? Like, obviously we're excited for it within our soccer bubble, but you drive around and people are waving Galaxy flags and there's like obvious excitement, like
there's
throughout mainstream wise?
Yeah, there's more of that. Mainstream wise in LA is always difficult to sort of capture. Even when the Galaxy were winning, 3 out of 4 MLS Cup championships, they never really got a parade. The biggest thing they had was sort of a celebration, I think, at the Hermosa Beach Pier. So, it's on a different level. Having said that, you look at what the Dodgers were able to do, and the parade that they got, and you have another LA and New York final, which is a fun little progression to play against. No, soccer in general doesn't permeate every level of Los Angeles. You'll see people with a bunch of different kits on. You'll see people with LAFC kits on. You'll see people with Galaxy stuff on. There's flags. I will say it does get brought up in the conversation more. And I'm in groups that have nothing to do with soccer, and I'm starting to get asked a lot more about the LA Galaxy. And when that happens, you know that there's an undercurrent there. People are at least aware of what is going on.
I mean, obviously, we've been doing this a long time. We know that soccer is kind of counterculture sports-wise in this country, Josh. And I don't know that, I would love it to be much bigger than it is, I guess, but I don't need it to be, right? I'm sure Galaxy fans don't need it to be to feel connection to the team. And so let's go back. You talked about last year and some of the things that happened. And I know Kevin's written about this, and there's been, lots of talk about the protests, and sort of the ouster of leadership has really been the thing, excuse me, that has catalyzed the club and got them back going in the right direction. Talk about that a little bit from a fan perspective.
Yeah, no, you look at that, and what a dark time. I've told this, I almost quit last year of doing podcasts and everything else. It wasn't a fun time to be around the club. It wasn't a fun time to be covering the club. It wasn't a fun time to be in the stadium. I was there during COVID. It was way more fun during COVID than it was in the stadium whenever it was quiet. It was quiet, and it was eerie, and the Galaxy weren't playing well. And, it's sort of been a thing that's been going on. Credit to the supporters and really credit to the supporters that stuck it out through everything. A lot of times you think these things don't matter. Saying you're going to boycott and then actually doing it are two completely different things. And then maintaining that throughout this. You're talking about people who bleed for soccer in this country, and they support their club. They have tattoos of the club. I mean, I don't have tattoos of anything on me. I don't love anything that much in my entire life. These are people who are out there doing that, and to see that passion sort of manifesting itself there. I mean, I can look back in 2017 when you had supporters groups staying in the stadium and would not leave until somebody came out to talk to them. So, you've always seen that passion here. I don't know if it's the solution for everybody, but in this particular case, and certainly the results help them out, right? Whenever you look at it, if the Galaxy would be winning during the boycott and things were getting better, then maybe the boycott doesn't work, but the results were there as well. Finally forcing the hand of AEG and ousting Chris Klein and doing all that stuff and bringing in eventually Will Kuntz and all the things that have sort of progress to that area. It's been a complete turnaround. And by the way, it's been a complete turnaround in the front office too. It's a joy to work with the LA Galaxy again on all the stuff that we do, and it's constant. And there's a real belief that everybody in that front office is doing something to make the LA Galaxy succeed. And that's different. That has not been the case for quite a while.
I asked Mark this about New York on Wednesday. How are you going to watch this game? Are you going to be there at home with people solo? And then if they win, how are you personally going to celebrate?
Lucky for me, I've been watching from the press box since 2012 was my first one. And 2012, by the way, was the last David Beckham season. And then 2014, you had Landon Donovan and Robbie Keane and Robbie Rogers and that type of thing.
I was in the building for 2012 and 2014. I just got them confused.
Yep.
That's
100%. I get that. I always have to think back about that as well. But no, I will be in the press box. Now, the fun game that we always guess is, where will Josh be in that general facility? Will I be out on the roof? Will I be actually in? If I make it in the press box, Rob, this will be the first time I've ever watched an MLS Cup from inside the press box. However, I would imagine that perhaps I will be a roof or alternate auxiliary press box person as I usually am. So, but no, I will be there. And then, hopefully with locker rooms open, and we don't do a lot of open locker rooms with the LA Galaxy just after COVID. And we've sort of agreed to do it in a certain way that we think works for us and them. We should be down in the locker room. And so I look forward to, if the LA Galaxy win, to be walking through a sea of corks, about 2 inches of champagne, and watching it drip off the ceiling.
I'm thinking back, Josh, to the icon. I wish I had pulled the image to share it. The iconic image of Bruce Arena and the bottle of champagne, I believe.
Yep, at the press conference.
That's an all-time MLS image there.
Yep,
it's a great one. You want that one? You want that again, but with Greg Vanney, don't you?
Greg Vanney is the guy who says I didn't win it whenever I was a player, and that sort of upset me. And I want to win it now. Like, coming back, this was one of my goals, to win an MLS Cup with the LA Galaxy, to sort of right that wrong. Kind of fun story.
All right, incredible.
Josh, tell us where the folks can catch a podcast if they don't already know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cornerofthegalaxy.com is where you can find all the information. We're on Spotify and SoundCloud and all those millions of other places. We also do 2 live shows on Monday night and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube.
Man's committed. Love it. Josh Guesman. Great stuff.
Thanks, guys.
Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. We have live shows 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, kick around on YouTube. Thank you so much to our guest, Josh Guesman, for previewing tomorrow's MLS Cup final. Should be an exciting one.